21st birthday, wedged between Mike Pope, who you met, Dustin. Hopefully at the wedding. Hopefully you met him. I don't know if you actually did encounter him. My best friend from childhood. The guy I hugged when I came into the wedding ceremony.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, which was a really fun moment for me because I hadn't seen him in years. I was my 21st birthday. It was him and Aaron on the other side of me, and me in the back of the cab, just throwing up in a sweatshirt.
Oh, that's the worst.
And then it was a brown Element, you know, like the skate company, like a sweatshirt, and it was just full of throw up. And then when we got to my ex's apartment, she had this like fire escape outside. We threw the sweatshirt out there full of throw up, and then it just stayed there forever, and no one ever got it ever again. It was just this throw-up-filled sweatshirt and never recovered it.
That is so...
it could be on that fire escape in Boston to this day.
That's so tragic, man. That's tragic for so many reasons because, like, it's always a shirt that you don't want to be ruined, you know? Because the only time you're ever going to be out at, like, a party and sick is at, like, a special event. Like, where it's like, or, like, you at least want to look presentable. So it's like, oh, yeah, I'll wear this really nice shirt or I'll wear this really nice jacket. And it just gets immediately ruined.
Scan detected.
I think about like Halloween a lot, where I had like a Leon Kennedy jacket. That jacket's ruined. Jacket's gone. I threw up and I left it in the hotel.
It's what you got to do. You got to abandon it.
I threw it in the trash. I was like, it's over. I love this jacket. It's gone.
And I did that because I'm like, in the split second, it's like you either throw up in this dude's cab or you throw up in your sweatshirt. Exactly. Right? And it's like, all right, I guess this is what's happening. Right. And to that cab driver's credit, to his credit, this was in 2000. When did I turn 21? 2005. He pulled over. I thought he was going to throw us out on like, you know, somewhere in Boston. Got a bag out of his trunk, let me put everything in, and then drove us home anyway. And I was like, if I were him, I'd be like, you need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And I was not even throwing up from alcohol. I was throwing up because I ate too many weed brownies.
Yeah. If I were him, I would have shot you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, today, who knows?
From touchdown.
I have no idea what the fuck we're talking about. How long have we been doing this show? 15 minutes? This is actually not so bad.
Yeah. We're fine. We're fine. We're on track.
Yeah, everything's on track. We're good to go. You know what I was thinking about recently? I was watching of course, how would you know? It's kind of like it's like a vernacular thing.
I know, I'm an asshole.
No, I know, but but like, why do we say that? I don't know who invented that. But I was watching this thing about if you travel to Proxima Centauri, which is the closest star system to us, at 4% the speed of light, right? It would take 100 years. And but my whole thing is like, what if you have to go, you're going 4% of the speed of light's really fast.
Yeah.
And you're going at this dot and everything's moving, but what if your calculations are wrong? And you're just fucking flying.
Like overshoot?
You know, and you're just a little bit off. But because of the 100 years and all the distance, you're just way off. You're way off. You know? It's like, well, have fun wherever you end up. I have no idea where you're going. Bernard's star, perhaps?
Who knows?
That's a real star system.
Hey, Colin, real quick.
Yeah, talk to me.
Micah messaged me. She just said, if you see this, tell Colin at some point that I'm throwing out food wrappers in the bathroom trash. She's never caused this kind of show interference before, but I just wanted to know if you had a comment.
Yeah, she annoys me because...
Well, you're married now. She has a newfound confidence.
That's what she really does.
She messaged me during the show with this.
Yeah,
that is what it is. It's like, well... It's over now.
What are you gonna do?
It's a certain boldness. When we met, as I think the audience will know, because a lot of people think I was crazy, I only had one garbage can in my entire house, which was in the kitchen. All garbage went through we have no garbage anywhere else. It's like, not that the house is clean. It's just that we put I don't want garbage here. It was like, you have a little garbage can here. It's like, what? No. You just, when you have something to throw out, you throw it out. And so she's slowly been expanding that. But then I have certain rules, like, she'll crush, we get like the big BJ's cereal boxes that are like 2 cereal boxes. She'll just fold that box when it's done and then put it in the recycling garbage can which takes up half of it.
Oh.
It's like, why don't you just bring it to the garage and put it in the recycling bin out there? So little things like that. And another thing she likes to do, or at least tease me about, is saying, because I'm like, you can't throw food out anywhere but in the kitchen. That's an old Jerry Moriarty my dad thing, right? And it's a good idea. You don't want ants, you don't want all these things.
That's a really standard good idea.
That's exactly right. This is why I'm so upset about. See, I think she knows how to. She doesn't believe anything she says. She just does it to fuck with me. She's a complete propagandist. Like she just wants to prod me as much as humanly possible. You know,
Yeah.
She doesn't really like wet socks.
Of course not.
Oh, no, yeah.
You know, it's just like, okay. I at this point, I've just been like, okay, fine. fine. You know,
I told her on Punching Up, I said, you're a coward. Do the ketchup and milk thing, chocolate milk thing you keep talking about. She's like, oh, well, I'm lactose intolerant. I said, almond milk then. She says, oh, well, it wouldn't be the same.
She talks a big game.
Come on.
Almost no one talks a bigger game than Micah.
She'd be a great lawyer.
Yeah.
Just convince people that all these things are true and just find some amazing way to get out of it.
Micah's so weird.
It wouldn't be the same.
She's like this beautiful woman, right? But she's actually a machinist by trade, and then somehow found herself in, like, you know, IT and all this kind of stuff. And now she's our merch person. I don't know. She doesn't really read like anything specifically for me. Very handy, for instance, right? She said in our vows she'll put things together for us, which I really, you know, I appreciate that because
like furniture and stuff.
Yeah, no, that's straight up. When things arrive or have to happen, you know, I'm not doing it. It's either going to be you or it's going to be someone I hire because I'm not doing it. So,
dude, yeah,
she really wears the pants. She's the one out there in the backyard. Dude, we have a fucking grill, like a huge grill and a smoker back there, and she's back there like she's some sort of Southern man.
Oh, dude, you got to smoke a brisket or something, dude.
She's working her way up to that because that's really expensive. Dude, she is killing it out there. I'm like, holy shit, what are you doing out here?
If you smoke a brisket, I will fly out.
Oh, she'll definitely smoke a brisket. Oh, she'll smoke a brisket.
Brisket's so good.
She gets up, like she'll set her alarm. She has to get out there, you know, at X morning, and then you have to check it every hour and all. And she's watching these like YouTube videos, and she listens to these fucking podcasts about it. It's pretty interesting. And she's also like 100 pounds. It doesn't really make any sense.
Depart when ready, Commander.
I look at a cheeseburger and I think I gain 5 pounds every time I just stare at one. Nonetheless, shove it down my fucking gullet, which I also do.
Oh, man.
Welcome to Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast. We go live each and every week. You get it 3 days early and ad-free. Over on Patreon, patreon.com/laststandmedia. I don't know if you guys saw, October was our biggest month ever on Patreon. This past October. We're setting and then beating those records most months, all thanks to you out there. $5 a month will get you early ad-free access to everything, access to Sacred Symbols Plus, Defining 2 Ultimate, and so on and so forth. Sacred Symbols Plus, really, really good lately. 2 episodes a week, exclusive to Patreon. We have an Alan Wake 2 spoiler cast coming probably in the next week or two. Spider-Man 2's spoiler cast and review discussion will be recorded and published next week, and we'll talk about those games in a little while. Sacred Sweethearts, which is Micah and Holly, aka Haley. They recorded that already. That was supposed to go live already, but we pushed that to Saturday, so the day after this goes live, so that I can sit down with David Jaffe for a 2-hour conversation. Jaffe Cross Moriarty, all about what's going on PlayStation with Connie Booth and Jim Ryan and Bungie and all that stuff. And we'll talk about that here too, but definitely go check that out if you want some insider information. Merch, laststandmedia.store. Free shipping on all stickers here in these United States. We appreciate your support. We have shirts, hats, sweatshirts, so on. Please leave nice reviews on podcast services. I actually went on iTunes yesterday and looked, and a lot of people have been leaving us reviews, so we really appreciate that. That really is helpful to us algorithmically. If you like our show, it'll help us find new audiences. Leave comments on videos. You can like us on YouTube if you watch us there, and follow us there if you'd like. I think that's basically the whole rigmarole. Let's see here. Let's get into some inquiries before we get into the show itself. Superhero Jagannath wrote in. Said, Colin, I have just one question. Who in their right mind approved the Kingdom Hearts song Simple and Clean to be played at your wedding reception? Dustin posted a video on Twitter of this travesty, and we, as your faithful community of followers, need answers. Have you secretly been a Kingdom Hearts fan all along? Was this Micah's nefarious doing? What is the meaning of this? Micah did it all. I didn't anticipate this. I don't know. Does Micah even like Kingdom Hearts? Or did she do this specifically for you? Or
she might have done it for me. I don't know.
Yeah, because I had no idea. If it was up to, well, it's not if it was up to me. If it was left to me, it would have been silent because there would have been no DJ because I wouldn't have done any of the work. Yeah. So not only was the DJ there because of Micah, but also she was, he was playing the songs that she chose. But I saw that you were, there was some excitement about this, a little bit of a buzz about the building, the Independent.
Yeah.
That's what it's called, right? The golf course the golf club that we got married at. So yeah, did you feel well after that? Did you feel good about yourself?
Oh, I felt really good. I really liked that short little clip at the very end. I zoomed in on you and you're standing up, and a lot of people thought you were going to tell the DJ to turn this shit off, which it didn't. It remained going. But
honestly, I didn't even notice, and I wouldn't have even known what it was. So,
okay. Yeah. Dude, Micah, shout out to her though, because to my understanding, she did put together most of the soundtrack for the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And we were getting down hard. We were having a great time, all of us dancing, having a good time. Great playlist. Colin, I did see you out on the floor there briefly.
Oh yeah, I was dancing
with
a
none
little bit.
other than Betty Ann Moriarty.
Oh yeah, I was dancing with my mom and just for a few songs I felt, and this will be one of the things I talk about in our Constellation episode, and as I discussed in the weeks leading up, was I felt a great social anxiety in making sure to talk to people and like thank them and shake. I talked to everyone, you know, like for at least a few minutes. Went around to all the tables and all that. So in the interim, I went on the dance floor, but you know, it was cool, Dustin, to see it. I live a very fractured and unusual life. I don't want to get into my topic on Constellation too deeply, but my parents splitting up and then me living in multiple different places, and then going to college and then being in California in 2 different places, you just pick up people along the way. And that was the only time that, until maybe I die or whatever, that everyone was together. And like seeing worlds truly collide. Like the next day, so Sunday, I reached out to various people that I knew were going to be around for a little while longer. So I had like 4 or 5 people over the house. And it was one of my very close friends from San Francisco, Nate Ahern, who people might remember from IGN. And he left IGN a long time ago, but he's like really like one of my, if not like my best friend from that era, and was my boy. In fact, I've told the story that when he moved, he took a job. He left IGN to go to Apple, which is in the Bay Area, but then he left to go to Xbox, which is in obviously Washington. And we had like this big night out to like say goodbye to him and his wife. And then I cried at the end of the night because I knew like he was the person that got me to break out of my shell. And I knew that when he left, I would revert back to my former self. So it was great to have him. So he came over, Ramon, who everyone knows, my best friend from college. So it was him. And then my friend Mike Patelli, who I met only in the last couple of years, and it was the first time I met him in person at the wedding, actually. He's like my G.I. Joe friend that I met trading G.I. Joes, and he's a good buddy of mine. So we had, and my friend Sin, who was my first friend at IGN back in 2003, so we had them all together, and it was cool to like just see everyone interacting with each other, you know, like, and being with each other. And I'm like, I find though I like keeping my friend groups separate, that's the way I've always been. It's like, I want to do this with this person, I want to do this with this person, I like doing this with this person. It's true that I've found, in my opinion, very good people that seem to all like each other. And so there's something about them too, you know? Anyway.
Yeah. Dude, it was, well, yeah, not to get too far into a Constellation topic, I will just say, seeing the crossover of Moriarty lore in real time, like meeting PJ.
Right, you met PJ? Like, that's my brother Dagan's best friend.
Yeah. PJ,
and
not
like
what I expected.
Yeah.
Not what I expected PJ to be like, but at the same time, exactly what I expected PJ to be like. So
yeah, PJ's all tatted head to toe, basically. He was wearing a button down, but it was Magikarp's.
Magikarp, yep. It was sick. It was very cool.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's my brother's best friend from the island. They met in the late 80s, and I basically grew up. He was another of my brothers, basically. And we took a great picture together that I was really happy to. I hadn't seen him in years, you know. So yeah, it was cool. It's cool to see him. It was cool. You know, my dad gave a nice little speech. Mike's dad gave a nice little speech. Dagan wrote like a limerick.
Dude, as soon as he walked up, I saw the paper come out, and I'm like, this shit's gonna rhyme. And I mean, it's Dagan. Of course, it's going to. Right?
Yeah, he's like a professional rhymist.
That's right. And we were laughing because when I was his best man when he got married in 2002. I was 17, and I just winged my speech. And I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. And it was totally fine. It's on video somewhere. Maybe we'll find it and post it at some point because they had the videographer. I didn't want that at ours. I want it to be like a piece of ephemera. You know, I guess it begins and then it ends. But anyway, enough of that. I appreciate everyone's kind words, though. It really meant a lot to me to have so much outpouring of support. I appreciate that. All right, let's see here. Nikolai Casio wrote in and said, a few years back, my wife made a mom friend from Facebook. Sounds sexual. Our daughter hangs out with theirs, and we hang out with the parents. Me and the other dad ended up talking about video games, and I found out he listens to Sacred Symbols. Mind blown, because that's the first person I met who listens. The guy's name is Lance, and I consider him a great friend. His birthday is actually coming up, so happy birthday, Lance. Enjoy the sacred shirt I bought for you. Wear it well. Nikolai, thank you for writing in. Love to hear these continuing connections between everyone.
Yeah, it's dope. Except now we know Lance's name. We know his birthday. You're doxxed. So
and we know that he has a wife.
Done.
And we know that he has a wife. We know everything about you, Lance. We're gonna get you.
It's over for you.
I bet we'll get that guy. What's that guy on the internet who like looks at a picture of like clouds and guesses exactly like what town it's in?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Geo Hunter or whatever that guy is.
That Geo-guesser guy who's like weirdly. We'll just get that guy. We'll give that guy this information, then you're done, dude. Guy named Lance with a wife with a birthday in October. Done.
let me be honest with you about this. With a little more, I think that I could do that. Like, it's the same thing with the time games that you guys were telling me about, where it's like, look at a picture and tell, like, what year did this picture take place? I nail that. I don't know, I'm good at that. I watch some of those guys, like, where they're like, all right, here's a picture, and I won't be able to probably find it, but it's like, oh, that's the Pacific Northwest in the United States, obviously. And then that's where it is. I don't know that it's like Vancouver Island or something like that.
Right.
I'm coming for those guys, I guess is what I'm saying. Watch your backs.
Yeah. He's been practicing in his off time.
Sacred Symbols is sponsored by Fume, the remarkable, award-winning flavored air device that eliminates the drama around the term cold turkey. Learn more now at tryfume.com, that's F-U-M, and use the code SACRED at checkout. So there are habits, and then there are bad habits, like catastrophic ones. But what if you could separate the unsavory from your custom, so that what was habitual actually becomes neutral, if not good? This is where my friends at Fume come into play. Fume is actually pretty remarkable, a well-made wood and metal implement that requires no electricity to use. In fact, it's totally analog and has no battery. You cannot plug it in. So what does it do? Well, within Fume's sturdy interior, you place flavored cylinders that come in a variety of options: white cranberry, crisp mint, maple pepper, and many others, including my personal favorite, orange vanilla. Then you merely pull, and that's right, all you're getting is flavored air in return. That's it. Nothing else happens. Do you see how useful and even wonderful this entire contraption is? It's great for cessation, yes, but I'm not even in need of that personally, and I still really like my Fume. So its uses are potentially legion. It's tasty and it hits the spot, but I'm just vibing with my Fume, making great decisions that can be replicated the world over. Listeners, stopping is something we all put off because it's hard, but switching to Fume is easy, enjoyable, and even fun. Fume has served over 150,000 customers and has thousands of success stories, and there's no reason why that can't be you. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the journey pack today. Head to tryfume.com, that's tryfum.com, and use the code SACRED, that's SACRED, to save 10% off your order when you get the journey pack today. That's tryfum.com and use the code SACRED to save an additional 10% off your order today.
David Wilson II wrote in and said, hello, boys. How do you feel about vanity license plates? I saw one the other day that said illest, and I thought to myself, how dumb is it to pay extra to advertise something that no one else will understand? I think I understand that. I think there could be creative combinations one can make, but most simply fall short. In my mind, the only acceptable vanity plate should be if the proctologist has an ass-man plate. Hey, it's the ass-man! Should license plates just be left alone and have random numbers or letters, or should people spend their disposable income on vanity? I wanted to bring this up because, in Virginia, there are more vanity license plates per capita than in any other state. And it's because vanity plates are incredibly cheap here. Every fucking person down here has a vanity plate. It's insane. Seriously, I would say a third of the cars have license plates here. Like, it's insane. Just an absolute ridiculous number of vanity plates. My whole thing about this, I don't drive, as everyone knows. I did have a scooter, and that had, in California, had just a normal California plate on it, but I wouldn't want people to know who I was, right? Don't you want to be as anonymous as possible going to and fro? You don't want to be like, hey, it's the ass man, and then like you do something and then they get you on camera, or you like get a speeding ticket, or people, I don't know. You just don't want that. To me is what comes to mind. You just be anonymous, get to and fro without people worrying too much about who you are. I don't want you to look at my car and then you're sounding it out. You're like, oh, what does this mean? I don't know. Who's this guy? Yeah, I'm good with that. So no, I'm not into it.
Yeah, I've never really cared for it either. There's just the notion of it. It's just like, the only use that I could ever think of would be to kind of have all of the characters be similar enough that it would be kind of confusing, that you couldn't really like read in like a quick glance, just so you can get away with things. It'd be like, hey, look at that guy's license plate. It's 38B338B38B3B3. You know what I mean? And just things that look similar enough at a glance, where it's like, or you get like a loose like a picture, and you're like, oh, is that a 3 or a B, or like, what the? Damn it, he's gone. We lost him forever. Or like 11I, lowercase L. I don't know.
Still lower cases.
It's an
NES password.
Why not? It's a vanity plate. Put a, you figure it out somehow.
When I was a landscaper in Massachusetts, a dude I worked with lived in New Hampshire, and he lived in Manchester, New Hampshire, and his license plate was Man Van.
That's a scary license plate to see. I feel like.
I just always remember that because I was like, it just sounds gay. I don't know how else to say it.
Sounds gay and or ominous.
Gone.
Man.
Oh my goodness. All right. Ryan Barry wrote in and said, hey gents, I watched the Boogie 2988 documentary after hearing it mentioned on Sacred Symbols Plus, and it really made me wonder about those younger YouTubers coming up whose entire career is content creation. Will we see a whole lot of middle-aged former YouTubers going off the rails in 20 years as they lose relevance and their income dwindles? I'd love to hear. Ryan Barry wrote in and said, "Hey gents, I watched the Boogie 2988 documentary after hearing it mentioned on Sacred Symbols Plus, and it really made me wonder about those younger YouTubers coming up whose entire career is content creation. Will we see a whole lot of middle-aged former YouTubers going off the rails in 20 years as they lose relevance and their income dwindles? I'd love to hear your thoughts on the doc." I haven't seen this yet. I bring this up because Jaffe brought it up, and I just feel like you two would have to know about this documentary that's been going around that I've been reading a little bit about. I'd like to sit down and watch it. Dustin, are you familiar with this Boogie 2988 documentary?
I am. I watched it yesterday, actually. I think it was yesterday. It's very sad. It's a situation where you kind of feel bad for him and also kind of don't. At the same time, you want him to help himself, but he can't. He refuses to help himself. It's particularly when it comes to money, where you're just, it's like, dude, you don't have any money. You have barely any money coming in. So why are you spending money? You can't, but he does anyway.
It's crazy that he has no money. That's crazy.
Dude, apparently he lost almost all of it in crypto.
Yeah.
So it's like, man,
I mean, you know, I don't know what to tell you.
And hookers.
I know content creation. I know YouTube. You guys know it even better than me. I know how much people make. Like, he by rights should be a millionaire.
He should, yeah.
Straight up. So that to me is really sad. Yeah.
What's crazy? What's really crazy to me is that, dude, like he made so much money, and then he also lives in Arkansas. Like, he should be like, comparatively speaking, he should be living like I don't even know, like a small prince.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense to me that he's
the Lord of the Manor.
Like, where the fuck, if you can't, I'm sorry, dude, if you can't afford, how do you're in Arkansas. How the fuck I could buy a house over there for like 20 cents right now, probably. Like, it can't be. And you find out in the documentary, like, just all the money he had and all the money that he wasted on, like, both crypto and hookers and stuff. And it's just like, it's crazy, dude. I can't. Look, I'm not the most, like, financially, like, sound person. You know what I mean? I'm, like, really bad with money. I'm not really good at, like, managing this stuff. But I also know, like, not to spend, I don't know, $200,000 on hookers or, like, put $500,000 into crypto. Are you insane? And by the way, to have all that money and then have he at the beginning of the documentary, he shows his house. He shows like how much money he has on his house, and it's barely anything, like, compared to what he had. It's like, dude, like, why not just if you're gonna at least put all your money into crypto and all this other shit, at least pay your house off first.
Right, exactly. That's exactly right.
Why would you not do that?
Mm-hmm. That's my whole mentality. It's my whole mentality. I'm sorry, Dustin, you have more to say.
Dude, Colin, I think you'll love it.
I wrote it down.
The documentary does a good job in making you feel conflicted, because there's this whole part about his 20-year-old girlfriend, and you think that's a strange situation. I didn't need to see them naked in the tub together, but it does show that momentarily.
Oh my God.
So you feel weird about that, but then a few minutes later, they show them having a heart-to-heart where Boogie's basically says, yeah, I'm going to die soon. And you need to be prepared for that, because I could have a heart attack at any moment. And she, like, is bawling, and you feel so bad. But at the same time, you feel weird because, you know, it's very good at that. Very conflicting feelings throughout the documentary.
Well, when it came up yesterday during the Jaffe conversation, I wrote it down. It was the first thing I wrote on my notepad. It's the name of the documentary. So The Last Sad Days of Boogie, I think it's called. Yeah. And I'm just covering up the rest of my notes. Reminds me of, you know, like when you were in school, or maybe you guys didn't do this, and you had the letter cards above the, you know, it's like A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Yeah.
And all that, and they would cover them up, and they would expose them as time went on, as you went over them or whatever. I don't know. I remember that. But I'd like to check that out, because this is why I wanted to bring it up. It's not because of Boogie. I have nothing. I've met Boogie before, and he was totally nice to me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, he was a perfectly nice person. As I said I don't know him really at all. But as I said to Jaffe, I found his whole shtick increasingly annoying, to the point where I just unfollowed him a few years ago, and I really haven't been keeping up since then, because it was just constant drama. Like, where I'm like, this is just so off-putting to me. It's just not what I'm into. And But what I really wanted to bring this up and why I wanted to bring it up is I'm curious if you guys, and Chris, I wanted to ask you this first. Like, have you ever thought about your own obsolescence? Like, it's not around forever. Like, I'm not under. Here's what I think, and I'll knock on wood. I think that I could make money for myself on the internet for a long time. Like, if I needed to just like, I could stream a few times a week and make thousands of dollars a month probably and just be okay, I think, for a long period of time. But as far as having like real relevance and the company being big and the shows being important and stuff, I understand that all things are on a timer. And I have been preparing for my obsolescence since I became relevant in any way, shape, or form, since the very beginning. I have been relevant in my own mind anyway, longer than I really would have imagined. And I've tried to make really wise decisions so that when the end comes, which it will one day, maybe soon, maybe late, I don't know, that I'm not in this situation where it's like, well, what do I do? It's like, well, my house is paid off. I have no bills. I have no blah, 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 whatever the case might be for all those different things. So, and I have a lot, money put away, and I've always lived well below my means. So in some sense, when I became relevant, I always knew at the end of the tunnel, they were going to boot me out and that was going to be over for me. And so I kind of lived like that. And I just can't imagine someone doing as well as he's done. Like, he's done so much better than I would have ever done. Yeah, if I were him, I'd be rich, like mega, mega rich.
Yeah, me too.
Not like well off or whatever, which I think we admit we all kind of are in this space, like doing this kind of stuff where if you do it long enough on Patreon and you're smart enough or whatever, it's just, that's what bothers me is I'm like, damn, Boogie, you want to shake him.
Yeah. And
just be like, what the fuck have you done? You've wasted it, and that annoys me.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think about it sometimes, but then I also think about like, I don't know, to me, relevance is a very specific thing that is kind of independent from wealth and being well off. You know what I mean? There are plenty of wealthy people who are not relevant at all, and
sure.
And so to me, I look at like, oh, am I part of the conversation or whatever, or like, am I brought up, or like how many times is my name written on Twitter or whatever? And if it goes down, it's like, oh, well, that kind of sucks, I guess. But also at the same time, I look at my, like, how well the channels are doing, and I look at how well the podcasts are doing. Like, we just had the biggest month on Snark Tank also. So like, to me, it's like,
love it.
We're not relevant, I guess, in the sense that we're not.
Just give you a little bit of a celebratory symbol hit.
What the fuck?
Just give you a little celebratory symbol hit. Sorry about that.
Oh, that really jarred me because I thought you had a gong.
Oh yeah, no, it sounded like it because I hit the crash symbol with my finger. So
yeah,
made that noise.
But gong. But yeah, so to me, it's like, yeah, I'm probably not as relevant as I was, but I'm also at the same time in a position where I am doing better than I was. So it's kind of. I'm also doing more, so that's probably why also. So like, I don't know. I think about it, but I don't really care about it because I know there's like a myriad of things that I could do at any given moment to be fine. You know what I mean? Like,
right. That's kind of the way I feel
I'm not
too.
That
like
concerned about it. Yeah.
Right. I agree with you. Actually, I don't know who was on the episode when I did like internet fame. Were you on that one, Chris? Right? Were you on that one?
I think we
talked on.
Oh, you
so,
yeah,
okay.
Well,
so we had this conversation where. That's perfect. I hope people go and listen to that episode of Constellation because that's what we were saying is that I think you said it already where I think I'm less famous in internet fame than I was at IGN by a mile, and even at Kind of Funny. But yeah, you find like a micro community, and the economy of the internet has changed such that like I was making a fucking pittance at IGN, comparatively, and it's crazy that you can't cash that level of fandom and that readership in a huge machine like that. You actually have to kind of lop a piece of it off and make it your own. And I don't know. So it just, but I think about that. Like that's always been built in. I just understand that you have to really try to stay relevant, not actively, but just through your content. And that at some point people are gonna be like, I don't want to listen to this old man anymore.
Yeah.
Like I get that. Like I totally accept that. I don't know, Dustin, you have anything you want to say about this? Have you thought about it at all?
Yeah, well, I think that just to respond quickly to you first is that you may be an old man talking about PlayStation, but there will be plenty of old men that listen to you become an old man talk about PlayStation
who
that's true. Also may want to. So while I think that you're right that eventually the audience may stop growing because we just won't relate to younger people as much, which I mean, we can already see that now through our demographics that we're not super popular amongst, 15 to 21 year olds or something.
Yeah, we're not even talking the same language or playing the same games or anything that they are.
Right. Yeah. But I think that, I don't know, I think most people don't grow out of video games. There are some people that do or think they do or try to, but I think that potentially that means that they'll be around for us, but we'll have to see. The weird part for me compared to you guys is that I'm still fresh in my quote unquote relevancy on the internet.
He's fresh.
I'm fresh, yeah. So
gross.
My perspective has always been, I made it here, now I got to figure out how to stay here. Hopefully, with you guys, but if you guys are ever out, then I got to figure something out too.
Oh, Chris is going to do something horrible at some point and fucking ruin this whole show. I know it. I just know it. And that's baked into the cake. That's just like that's been baked in since the beginning,
Yeah, we have a clause. It's the Chris clause.
We say it sometimes, but people will be fascinated. Chris and I have never signed a single document between us. Like, this show just has happened based on a gentleman's agreement since the very beginning.
That is very much just how our brains work, though. Because the second I see a document of any kind, I'm just like, fuck. I'm immediately put off by it.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, you can't just be a decent person. Like, is that too difficult?
Right, like if you can't pay people and give them and do what you say you're gonna do.
Yeah.
And what's the point anyway?
Yeah, exactly. To me,
I feel the same way.
Yeah, and then to me it's just like, well, if it's bad, I'll just walk away because there's nothing holding me to this.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how I felt about it. But
so does that make me the only person that signed a document with you, Colin, in terms of employment?
Yep.
Yeah.
You're the only one. Because my whole thing, that people that don't know, and we've talked about this, but we basically just have all gentlemen's agreements. A lot of it is just tracked in email. I mean, whatever. I don't like have a notarized legal document that says like Chris is the co-host and this is what he gets paid. It's like, Chris, I want you to do the show with me. Here's what I'll pay you. And then it just happens. But every person that comes and works with us, and we're going to be dealing with this again soon, is they get approached with like, well, it's up to you. I have lawyers. I mean, when we have, like, I have an accountant, I have lawyers, I have people do proper things when they need to happen. I'll be very happy to, have a document written up if it makes you more comfortable. And every person has said, no, it's okay, except for you.
Right. But the only reason, was I was leaving my job.
I'm not even, people are going to be, I don't care. I don't think that's a stupid thing.
We don't have one anymore.
Yeah, no, exactly.
That one's null and void at this point.
I totally don't mind that at all. My whole thing is like, when we get new people, I always tell them, like, just talk to whoever you want that's involved. They have carte blanche to say whatever they want. And just investigate, and then come back to me and tell me how you feel. And it's always the same, or at least it has been the same these last few times, which I appreciate and I think is cool. But I just think it keeps it a little looser and it doesn't tie anyone down, and they know the right thing's going to happen. I'm just not going to do wrong by people. I'm not but I just feel like, I guess I wanted to bring this up because the thing that bothers me about this situation and why I think this is a fun topic to talk about is that I guess I lose respect for people when they don't act in a way that acknowledges how much luck played a role in their entire rise. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I've always understood, because people are like, oh, you have no talent, Colin, you're just lucky, whatever. And I'm like, well, maybe I don't have talent, I don't know. But I've never, ever, ever denied how lucky I am, right? And the second I got my freelance position at IGN in 2002, I realized how lucky I was. When I became a full-time employee in 2007, I realized how lucky I was. When I found it kind of funny, I realized how lucky I was. And when I did this, I realized how lucky I was. And I've always responded in kind. And when you're in that position and you blow your money and you blow it all and you just fuck it all up, it shows to me that you didn't appreciate the secret ingredient to the entire situation, which was luck. And that you can't simply replicate it. Like, you can't say, like, well, I've wasted that money and I wasted that time and I wasted that energy, but I'll be able to do this. And it's like, well, no, that might have been it. So you really should have taken full advantage of it. And that's just the way I've always tried to operate. That's why I always encourage people to live way below your means. Just live below your means. And just accumulate wealth and accumulate money and safety and security for yourself as much as you can. And that's why I always say too, like the people that are not lucky, like this show is kind of for them in some sense. And it's not like supposed to be this melodramatic thing, but that's what we always say. It's like the guy who has to drive the truck, the guy who has to stock the shelves, the guy who has to sit at his fucking computer writing rote, boring emails, and just he hates his fucking life and he's looking for any sort of entertainment. Like that kind of behavior, like you see in that documentary purportedly, and I'll watch it and I'll report back. That just shows me that people don't understand how fucking bespoke and lucky it is. You're crazy if you blow it.
Yeah,
truly
especially like that, man. I really can't even fathom. I can't even fathom having that much money and not immediately paying off my house. Like it is impossible to comprehend.
Totally. But I totally agree. Cause like that's my whole fallback thing too, is like, I want to be in a position if and when it all goes away where it's like, well, your living expenses are minimal. It doesn't really matter. I guess
right.
if I totally ran out of money one day, I was like, oh, go work at a fucking bagger at Publix or something. But that's not. I just don't think that's going to happen. And I don't know. Yeah, I want to watch the documentary, but I love the topic of our own obsolescence. I think it's fun to talk about. Like it's dark. You know? What
is crazy though is and it's wild because I don't post that often anymore. I'm trying to post a little bit more often, but like it's really more. I'm really more in the podcasting space at this point. But like. A lot of the YouTube channel revenue that I have is from like people just watching stuff in the backlog like over and over again, or just like maybe people finding it for the first time or whatever. And every month without fail, the check that comes back is despite very little added to the mix, it's still way more than I was making when I was working at like Sears or like retail, right. Which is crazy to me. That makes no fucking sense. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I've got a lot of. I'm really confident in my ability, so like I'm not really all that worried about it.
You're also multi-talented. You guys are both multi-talented too. You know. I just think that's really relevant. Like you're an editor, you're a writer.
I appreciate
you're an analyst. You can consult. You can do all sorts of things. Like I actually think that my own strengths are much more limited. I've just been able to leverage them in a unique way, especially with podcasting. I was just there very early, you know, and that was just that was a huge advantage. It took nothing more than just a microphone and IGN, and again, that goes into the luck prospect of it. Like,
exactly, yeah. The luck is
just total luck. Total luck.
Anyway, I can't wait to ruin this show by getting caught smoking crack.
That's fine. That'll probably help. You have to think worse than that.
Yeah, I can't think of anything worse than crack. Yeah, I don't know.
You have to give a baby crack.
It's like Chris is
selling crack easier than selling crack to a baby. Yeah.
Chris has joined global jihad, and then we're like, oh my god, here we are. And even then, I don't know. You know,
I don't know, man. I'm a very boring person. Like really, like I know people like to say that. People like to say, oh man, you're so humble or whatever, but like sincerely. Like, I think people seem interesting because of the stuff that they make. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I saw an interview with, like, what's his name? Oh, my God, Ben Affleck, where he was like, yeah, I mean, people expect a lot from me, and then I just sort of I don't know. I'm just a guy, you know? And I'm really boring, actually. And people are always disappointed, and they're like, I thought that, oh, man, meeting Ben Affleck was really lame. And I'm like, well, I mean... it was like weirdly relatable. I was like, I didn't expect to ever relate to Ben Affleck, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because
totally.
He's so like, but it makes sense.
Actually, the pictures, as those funny pictures of him come out, like the video of him like looking despondent and smoking the cigarette and all the different things.
I love that image.
Yeah, like I relate to him more as I get older. I'm like, yeah, I get you. I got you.
Oh man,
I got you. All right, let's get into some game talk, my friends. There's things to get through this week, as this is Sacred Symbols, a PlayStation podcast. Mm-hmm. What episode is this? 279.
279, yeah.
Shadi Haddad wrote into us. It said, guys, we are close to the Game Awards announcing the nominees for Game of the Year. What 6 do you think make the cut? Dustin,
Man.
Do you have any thoughts here?
Well, yes. First, I got to shout out. I believe I talked to this man yesterday, and I believe his name. We talked about the pronunciation of the name. I believe it's Shadi, actually.
Oh, Shadi.
I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was the other way. He's a physical therapist. He's helping me with my thumb.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he reached out to me. So shout out to him, first of all. I was so funny. I saw you picked his name, and I was like, what are the odds?
Definitely keep putting that surgery off as long as possible.
He thinks that it's definitely not necessary. He's a legit physical therapist. So I talked to a surgeon, and surgeons want to do surgery. So
okay. Well, fair enough.
That's what he's saying, so we'll see.
All right.
We'll give it a shot and see what happens. I wrote these out. Okay, here's my 6.
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2. This last one I'm not as sure on. I think it could go one of two ways. Final Fantasy 16, but the
Don't
Game
say
Awards
it.
like...
Are you gonna? Never mind. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say the Game Awards like to throw in an indie pick every once in a while,
yeah.
unexpected. So I thought maybe instead of Final Fantasy 16, it could be Sea of Stars.
Oh, so that would be interesting. To see. I thought you were gonna say
You thought I was gonna say
Starfield.
Midfield, no
No.
midfield on there.
So
Sorry,
Tears,
Chris.
Baldur's Gate, Alan Wake, Mario. What was the other one? I'm missing one of them. Tears, Baldur's Gate, Alan Wake,
Mario Wonder,
Mario,
Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recency
Yeah.
bias, I think, on Spider-Man, honestly.
Well,
Yeah, probably.
yeah. What do you think, Chris?
I don't know. I think I don't know, man. I think that's a pretty solid list. I also feel like I think Starfield will be on there, just based on it is a huge game.
So everyone doesn't cry.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think Hi-Fi Rush has a chance to be on there too. Like I don't know what their methodology is with this year, because this year's so stacked and there's so much shit. Like you could argue like Dead Space should be on there. You know what I mean? Or like Resident Evil 4 should be on there.
Resident Evil 4, yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I don't know how many spaces they're even allowed to allot for something like this, but I think I don't know, Diablo 4 has a chance, even though like doesn't have a great reputation among like hardcore people. It's like it's sold really well. It had like really good reviews for a time being. Like people actually do like it is played and praised kind of a lot, like surprisingly so. So I really I don't know, man. It's there's so much this year that I wouldn't even know how to. Is it confirmed that it's only 6, or is that just like a guess?
I think it typically is 6, right? Let me see.
But isn't that kind of arbitrary? You know what I mean?
It's like, changes around how many they have for Best Picture, right?
That's what I mean. Like I feel like there will be more than 6 this year. I feel like there has to be.
It's been. I'm just looking. They have since 2018 at the very least. Let me see. It's been that many since 2018. Yeah, it's always 6. It looks like.
Yeah, but think about like how
2014.
Like, think about the 6 that have been on those lists in those years. It's usually like 4 obvious choices and then 2 like I mean I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, last year
like,
was Elden Ring, Plague Tale, God of War, Horizon, Stray, and Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yeah, like Xenoblade. Like there's always like it always feels like they're kind of struggling to fill that 6 with real like. And I say that it's like I've never played Xenoblade Chronicles and I never will, but Stray was a solid game. I really liked Stray a lot, but like I don't know, man, game of the year? I don't know. No. So like to me, but like in this year there are 6 easy like contenders. You know what I mean? To the point where like what do you? There has a chance that we get like I don't know 10, just to get like those 2 extra. What is it? Those smaller titles in there, like Sea of Stars or whatever. What other...
I hope they don't expand it. I hope that they just force it through that funnel. You know, like make the choice of 6 games. To me, my list would obviously be totally different than other people's lists, but I think Tears and Baldur's Gate are safe.
Yeah, I think Baldur's Gate has it, quite frankly.
As far as being nominees, like that's definitely 2 of them. And then you would assume. Mario, I guess, really did do very well. Like Alan Wake, Final Fantasy 16. You could see it being Sea of Stars and Spider-Man 2. It would be Starfield would be interesting just because it's not anywhere close to the overall Metacritic score of those other games. It's significantly lower. Final Fantasy 16 would be closest, and that's still 4 points above it. So, I wonder how that will all play out. We don't vote, so.
Yeah,
I did vote. I voted for years, but I didn't vote. I don't vote anymore, obviously. I don't know. We'll see. Good question, though. What is it, Shaddy?
Oh, Lies of P as well. Lies of P.
Lies of P.
Like,
yeah.
dude, the thing, dude, it's such. I don't know, man. This year's crazy. Like, I just don't. I think it would do a disservice to the industry to just only have 6 this year. Like personally, like it makes no sense to me.
Sony has the most nominations with 11 over time.
Yeah,
interesting. And out of that list. I don't know. I haven't played Alan Wake yet, so. And of course, we have to talk about RoboCop Rogue City as well.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's get into some other things here. William wrote in. Remember, you can support us over on Patreon, write in on the weekly threads that we put in the news feed. And I go through the inquiries and select them for the show. He says, Sacred Bimbos, all signs point to the new PS5 Slim coming next week, alongside a bundled copy of Modern Warfare 3 for a cool $4.99. This appears to be the first time that the console will be bundled with a free game stateside. Is this a fruitful last attempt by Hiroki and friends to cement Call of Duty fans into the PlayStation ecosystem before a future of annualized day one Call of Duty on Game Pass? Warm regards. That's certainly it. In fact, when I saw this news, I was like, that's kind of brilliant. You're going to eat a little bit of shit, but it's a great idea to just say, we're going to make this really complicated for you as far as like getting people off of the platform. So that's what I thought as well, William. I don't know if they would admit that, but I think that that's fairly obvious. It's a little strange to see that now that the deal is done. So it's officially an Xbox product, but there it is. Dustin, what did you think of this? Seeing this PS5 Slim bundle at $500. So you basically get a free game.
Yeah, I think that's great. I feel like this generation, we've had a lot of pack-in titles, but you pay for them. So getting something extra is always great. More value there. And a lot of people that are picking up PlayStation 5 this holiday, a lot of times it is to play Call of Duty. So just to have that bundled in there right off the bat, super helpful for those people that want to play it. So, and I think it is kind of a mind games low-key awesome strategy to put Call of Duty in here now before what could be, I think, either next year or the year after when they are able to start putting it on Game Pass. So lock people in to PlayStation 5 makes sense. Did you guys see the leaked photos of someone has one, PS5 Slim? They have one out in the wild. I don't know, man. It's hard to tell. You're seeing one or two images on Twitter or whatever. This thing looks kind of like Wish.com PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, no, 100%. It looks like shit. It looks like a lumbering piece of shit. But I mean, it's a slim model of a PS5. The thing that I can't get over the thing that I really can't get over is just how pronounced. Like, the thing about the PS5 was that it looks kind of like it just looks really loud, and it looks like it demands too much attention, and it's huge and whatever. And this is smaller, but for some reason, it's that pregnant bump from the disk drive that is so much more pronounced that it for some reason looks more attention grabbing than just a normal PS5, despite it being smaller. Like, I can't get over it. Like how it looks in that form. I hate it. But this also does not appeal to me at all. Like, the notion of like, oh, it's like smaller, cool. I'm waiting for the Pro, and if the Pro is ugly, which I don't know, man. I don't know what the PS5 is just proud of being ugly, I guess. But we'll see. Then we'll make it a decisive call. But yeah, I think it looks pretty rough. It looks like those images of like the GS5. You ever see those? Where it just looks like, you know what I mean? Those, like, it's like it looks like fake.
Yeah. Okay, wait, hold on. I found a picture. So Colin, I'm
looking at it now. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I found it on Walmart.com. The Game Station 5.
Oh, the game. Oh, that's what. I'm sorry. I thought you were looking at the PS5. Yeah, Game Station 5. Let me look.
Here.
Okay. There it is. Yeah, I see it. It does. AliExpress. It came up on. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Here, yeah. You sent it here. Let's see.
Jesus Christ.
Look at this fucking thing. Yeah, it looks like. I mean, I think the new one looks like a router. And yeah, it's not for me. I'm excited about the Pro. We know that's coming next year, or that's the apparent intent.
That's the plan.
This is just the new PS5. I guess no one will be the wiser. Again, I do have to be consistent in the sense that I never really gave a shit about what the console looked like. It just doesn't really matter. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. I do say that when I have my PS5 and my Xbox Series X next to each other, it's like the Xbox Series X is a much more elegant looking machine. I mean, it's not even close. Yeah. Which one is the better looking machine? Not even close.
I like my PS5 because it's behind my TV and completely out of sight.
I'm afraid of hiding it more because it's going to get really hot, you know? So I just leave it out just for that reason. But yeah, it's an ugly piece of shit, really, when it comes down to it. As far as Call of Duty on Game Pass, I do want to say this. I think that this move could potentially, I think that this is a long game enough move for them where this could potentially cost Microsoft several million Game Pass subscribers. Just because people don't have the money to have all these things and change over. A lot of people aren't an enthusiast level like that. So they're just going to have their PS5 and they're just going to be like, well, fuck it. And really, if you're just subscribing to Game Pass for Call of Duty anyway, all you have to do is subscribe for 3 months, and then you would have just paid for Call of Duty. So I think people are going to start maybe being able to look at it like that too. If they only buy 1 or 2 games a year, Game Pass doesn't really even make any sense for you anyway. So, so yeah, I'll be interested to see how this all does. I did want to ask you about this though. And Jean-Claude Brulé wrote in, as well as others. He says, hello, scared men, but I wonder if he meant sacred. Maybe he meant being scared. First, congrats to you, Colin, for your wedding. Thank you. Second, did any of you see the Modern Warfare 3 trophy list? There is no platinum trophy for the PS5 version, but the PS4 version does have one. The PS5 version is just a DLC list for Modern Warfare 2, while PS4 has its own list with a platinum. I guess Twitter comments were right. Modern Warfare 3 is just DLC of Modern Warfare 2. Thoughts? So this started going around just yesterday for when we were recording, and I saw it, and I was like, what the fuck is this? This is strange, and I'm trying to figure out what the intent is here. Because my first instinct was, that's a mistake. But these things do pass through certification and obviously internal metrics as well. In other words, when you're making your trophy list, and we do this with our own games, everyone does this, you go and unlock the trophies to make sure that they work, including the platinum. So you would do it all to make sure the platinum popped. So they must know? I don't really know what to make of this. It's a strange one. Dustin, what do you think?
I wish I knew more about kind of how trophies work in general. Is there any possibility that it shows up after launch where they amend that there's a platinum or like, I guess that would imply that there's some reason where there's not a platinum currently. But
yeah, I don't know that you could retroactively even add one, and I'm not entirely sure that a game, well, it's like I said earlier, we know now because certain games have done it where, like Warframe and others, I think, and we talked about Rainbow Six Siege, where trophies are in position. So it's like there's 50 trophies, let's say, and it's like position 47. That can't be moved. And you can change, though, the specification of what that trophy, how that trophy unlocks, and you can change the list that way. It doesn't retroactively change what. So if you already earned the trophy in spot 47, you will have already earned that trophy anyway. That's like the most you can manipulate it, as far as I know. And I've never heard of a game getting a second trophy list or like an amended trophy list ever. Although if it happened for a game, if there was a big enough game for them to go by hand and remove and kind of abridge their trophy list, they would probably do it for a game like this. I think this is very weird, though. This is like a very weird thing. I don't know. Because the PS4 version has the platinum trophy, it indicates to me that it is an accident. And I don't know how that just happens or like what that's all about. It's very strange. I've never seen that before. And by the way, it's not that it has a down. See, what's getting people, like what's annoying people is that it's the only example of a trophy list with a full list of trophies, but no platinum. So it's not a game worth a downloadable list of trophies where you get like, just a few, like the old 200 point achievement point Xbox games.
Yeah.
It's not like that. It has 1,000 points. It just has no platinum.
Weird.
Very weird.
Very weird.
And I think that maybe it'll be fixed, but I think that would require like manual work. It would be like really the first game of its kind. I think people can write in and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that I can't think of any other game that's just like, no, we're going to scrap the trophy list. There are games where the trophies don't work permanently, but, and we were talking about Mortal Kombat 1 last week where there's a trophy that doesn't work yet because the functionality is not in the game, but it's going to be added later. So I don't know. This is very strange. Wanted to acknowledge it though. See if it gets fixed. Shout out to those that noticed. Very weird. Very weird. All right. Let's see. This broke right before we started recording today. It's over at Variety. It says The Last of Us Season 2 expected to enter production in early 2024. This was announced Thursday morning by HBO boss Casey Bloys. By the way, I think this is the same person that got caught responding to things on Twitter with fake names. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? This was like a big news item the last couple of days.
I saw a headline, but I didn't actually see it.
I didn't see that at all.
It was a head person.
And like they admitted it. So it was interesting that like they like had all these like sock accounts that they were using to respond to people's hate about HBO stuff. So it says, quote, the CEO noted that the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes had delayed production for the hit show's sophomore season. The Last of Us was not on the network's 2024 slate presentation, meaning it could land in 2025 at the earliest. So not much more information here other than what we expected. I'm excited about this. Jaffe and I were talking on Sacred Symbols Plus, and Chris, we'll go to you on this, is where does this all fit in with the new game and The Last of Us Part 3 and The Last of Us Part 2 on PS5? How are they going to manage all of this? we were wondering, I guess, if they're trying to protect The Last of Us's high quality legacy by even delaying or putting on ice the multiplayer game that might be a 7 or an 8, not up to the stuff for them. What do you think about all this?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure a lot of this comes down to the strike as well, and everything that happened there. I can't imagine that made it simpler, but yeah, I don't really know. Like, I feel like their plans with The Last of Us are so up in the air now with this factions mode kind of being either on ice or rumored to be canceled. I would have to imagine that they are saving a PS5 proper port for The Last of Us, although I would argue that it's probably not even really necessary. People buy all sorts of shit that isn't necessary anyway. So
I'll buy the shit out of it. So yeah, I'm not going to complain about it.
Yeah. So they're definitely going to have like some PS5 port of it, and I would imagine that they'll probably time it somewhat similarly with the show, which would kind of give us an indication. It's like, okay, well, 2025 probably for The Last of Us Part 2 PS5 port, which might indicate that, I don't know, man. I can't imagine that they would just leave factions on ice. We talked about this before, but I have to imagine that on some level they would try to like maybe fold those things into each other. In a way
I would like to see that. Yeah, the Part 2 with like some sort of, that would be cool.
At the very least, to justify the existence of a port of The Last of Us Part 2, which right now doesn't really have any real reason to exist at all. So I mean, that would at least give it some sort of reason, even if it is kind of like a kind of a backdoor kind of reestablishing of different SKUs into the same thing. I feel like that would get a lot of people to shut up. You know what I mean? If a lot of people were to have a problem with The Last of Us 2 being ported to PS5 despite no real added features, that would really kind of get a lot of the criticism be like, oh, well, I guess that makes sense. Although I guess you could have the argument that people would be like, oh, so now you get the complete version because it was technically driven out of The Last of Us Part 2
Right,
originally.
that's exactly right. That's what I was going to say was like, it could be a marketing coup where they say, well, we're putting the game back together.
Right, yeah.
And that would require weird un-Sony acknowledgments that things have gone wrong or whatever. And we still don't... Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, but then if that is true, and that is... I mean, that seems to be like the smartest way to go about it, I would imagine. If that game is really in the dire situation that it really is, this would be the best way to go about it without wasting all that money. At the same time, that means you got another 2024 without anything from Naughty Dog, basically. So that's something to consider.
I have a theory.
Yeah, please.
You sparked my imagination here, Chris. We've seen Sony do something similar with during the launch of the PlayStation 5, where think about it like this, like Miles Morales. You can buy just factions. It's $50. But you want to get the $70 version, the ultimate version, it includes The Last of Us 2 Remastered.
Uh-huh.
You know, like they did with Spider-Man and Spider-Man Remastered, where you can kind of get that full value version. You know, maybe their plan initially was for factions to be a full $70 game, but with things having changed, that now they could do it at a cheaper SKU, or try to sell you the bundle like they did for Spider-Man.
Yeah, maybe. I think the only thing that kind of goes against that is Spider-Man was kind of something that was already there that was then brought up. You know what I mean? That was brought kind of up to par with like modern hardware. Whereas this would be a new thing being used to bring people into something. It would be like almost like the reverse situation, right? Where you would have like, here's the new thing, but then if you pay more, you can get the old thing.
It's like, that's what Miles Morales was. I new thing and you get
but
the old
it's
game.
Both. But there's no functional. How do I say this? Spider-Man PS4 was a PS4 game that like didn't really have PS5 functionality because it was so old. Right. But like Last of Us Part 2 runs really perfectly on PS5 to the point where like there's almost no real. I feel like that would be a problem for some reason.
Right, there's a PS5 patch for it, right? Like,
yeah.
So that would be a little different, I guess. It's true. I mean,
I know what you mean, though. I think there could be a smart way to do that for sure, but I don't think copying the exact same model would work exactly.
The question is, can they justify the existence of a remastered Last of Us Part 2 by saying, we know it was at 60 FPS and it had a patch. Here's all the stuff we did. We added this ray tracing. We added these modes. There's 120 FPS mode, stuff like that. If they could have like a list justifying it.
Yeah.
Maybe for the nerds that care about that level of technical stuff, which Naughty Dog clearly is full of them, I'm one of them, so I'm not making fun of them, but so maybe that's a path, but you're right that it's definitely not the same jump. Absolutely.
I feel like they would want to. I feel like instead of just separating them, I feel like they would want to get as many, because I think a lot of people, like most people, would be totally down to play a Last of Us a multiplayer experience. You know what I mean? Even if it is like kind of scaled back from whatever it is that they were planning on doing, it's still definitely scaled up from whatever it is they were planning on doing before. So I feel like there would be enough people who would be like, yeah, you know what? I'll buy The Last of Us Part 2 remastered to play this thing, as opposed to if they just launched it by itself, it would still sell a lot. But it would be like a separate SKU, and it would be a lot easier for them to be like, hey, listen, here's The Last of Us Part 2 with factions, and then just see like an insane sales boon for that SKU. You know what I mean? It would do well for them, and it would probably get a lot of other people in that otherwise would have just played factions or completely skipped out on The Last of Us Part 2 because they already played it, and there's no real added benefit to it.
Yeah,
I feel like they just might want to strong arm people into that SKU.
I think they're going to have problems with this game in some sense, because the factions game, if they try to release it, just because the cat got out of the bag about the problems with it. Like it's going to be painted in some way, which I think is going to be unfortunate for it, right?
That's
true. In ways that will matter if we didn't know how the sausage was made.
That is true, but also you have to take into consideration how much of a bubble we're in to even know about this stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, chances are most people, the overwhelming majority, in fact, of people who are going to be playing Last of Us Factions, if it's out, will have not heard anything about this, because they're just gamers and they just play like whatever, and then they just hang out and they do everything else. They don't really pay that much attention to the industry. Like, we're in a very specific place where we know about it for sure. But I mean, it's like Gotham Knights, you know what I mean? Like, Gotham Knights had that horrible fucking reception. It's like, it runs at 30 frames per second. Everybody hates it, and it's sold amazingly for months.
Yeah,
Saints
it's one
Row,
of the best-selling games of the year.
Saints Row is another example where it's like, oh my god, nothing but bad word of mouth. It wasn't very good. It wasn't reviewed very well. It wasn't even reviewed very well, like on a glance. Like even if somebody was like vaguely curious about it, who didn't even read up on it, if you just looked at the number score, it was pretty paltry, and it still sold a fuck ton. So I don't know if it would be that much of a problem. I think it would be a problem for us and enthusiasts, and it would definitely like cause a narrative to be spread among people who do care and pay attention. But I don't know, man. I feel like there's a lot. I feel like they could save this thing. I don't know how they would do it. And by the way, I think Dustin's idea is good. I would like it if they did that. I just don't think they would. I think they would just see too much value in just getting everybody in on the Last of Us Part 2 SKU. You know what I mean?
They could. It almost is a way they can trick you into thinking it's good value. Be like, we're giving you factions and The Last of Us Part 2. So that's why it's $70. It's like, well,
exactly.
Like you said, I don't need Last of Us Part 2 remastered because it's already very good. But if you're gonna throw it in, I mean,
yeah, and then
I'll pay 70 for both of those.
Yeah, and then they can be like, oh, The Last of Us Part 2 sold fucking 5 million units or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's just easier for them.
Just we're missing the component too of just. It makes sense. I think it makes perfect sense to re-release it again just to get the HBO people, and
yeah,
the indications are pretty strong that Part 1 did exactly that, and so they probably see and they're like, oh my god, there's no reason not to, and I'll buy it again. I don't give a flying fuck. I think the thing that we have to think about with factions, and Jaffe and I were talking about this, was how much did it cost to make, and what is going to be the deployment like kind of plan about it, in terms of, do they look at it and say like, we can, if we don't release this at all, we can just write all of this down, and it's a huge loss, but we'll get like 30% of it back in our taxes, right, or whatever, and we just move on? Or do they say like, let's get this thing out and try to make money on it, but that precludes us from ever writing it down like that without disappearing it off the face of the planet, you know, like Willow style at Disney Plus or whatever, and then we have to kind of support it, and then it starts, once we, from their perspective, once we release it, it kind of goes on this, it's going to start churning, it needs money, and it's going to cost money.